So, hey, it's Cliff here at Spiral Ridge Permaculture. I just wanted to give you a little introduction to our Permaculture Earthworks plan out here at Spiral Ridge. There's a lot of talk about how bad swales are, how good swales are, and really what Earthworks is all about is the context. The context of the geography, the context of the climate, and the ultimate idea that we're trying to get across, or that we're trying to capture, no pun intended, is that we're trying to capture water into the landscape the best way we can. Here at Spiral Ridge, we adopted a piece of land that was clear cut in the first place, and also it's a dry ridge that slopes down pretty dramatically down to about 35% down to the valleys. And also we live in a kind of a precarious area that is called the Southeast United States. The Southeast United States basically has a climate that is directed, for the most part, by the beautiful Gulf winds and the Gulf Stream that comes off of the Gulf Coast and the Gulf of Mexico. Now, without those winds, in case climates change, which they do, we will actually dry. We'll have a drying effect. The moisture-laden clouds that come over this area and drop their moisture will actually cease or slow down, and the possibility of this becoming a much more drier Mediterranean zone is actually very highly likely. If you look at 35 degrees latitude around our latitude, around the entire globe, you'll find that the majority of the areas are actually deserts. The only thing keeping us in a moisture-laden area and climate is the fact that we have the Gulf Stream. Since we have variability in climate zones and climate the landscape of climate, we actually have the possibility of either drying or becoming more tropical. Hence why we did Earthworks. We did Earthworks here in the form of swales that are slightly off contour, and they fill into pocket ponds, much similar to this one here. The pocket ponds are actually mimicking something that's very common in forested ecosystems. The forested ecosystem is actually the agricultural system that we are trying to mimic here on our ridge. Why? Because it wants to be a forest. The Vernal Pool, aka pocket pond, is also something that you find throughout the forested ecosystem. The forested ecosystem has disturbance. Those trees fall over, the roots come out with the tree, leaving fairly large diameter, roundish pockets, or vernal pools, meaning springtime abundance for all kinds of wildlife. Well, we started mimicking that here. So the cascading effect of swale that's planted with tree crops, those trees actually act as pumps or hydrological pumps that help also to create the water cycle, the micro water cycle, the hydrological cycle here on the site, filling up the vernal pools, then overflowing, cascading all the way down from source to sink, that you've probably seen in many books, but we illustrate it right here on our landscape. So why is it effective here and not elsewhere? It's effective here because we actually crop the interior parts of our swale systems. So we're using the water that's caught in these systems to actually water our crops, our staple crops, our corn, beans, and squash, our potatoes, our sweet potatoes, anything that is basically a staple crop. And we're not running very large livestock on that, which would also not be very good because of the sogginess of the landscape. So context is everything, but swales aren't always a bad thing. In this particular case, we found that they work great. They let water infiltrate into the system fairly quickly. The high density of rock and clay in the subsoil, which helps to capture water and store it for those periods where we get drought, sometimes 2-3 months at a time. We're storing that water now for a future reserve, kind of a battery bank in the landscape. So what we'd like to show you is just some small examples of what we've been doing. And join us during our Earthworks course this fall. Another great thing about these vernal pools is that our dogs love to drink out of them. Anyway, so here's an example of a multiple function landscape. We have actually an orchard system that integrates into annual crop systems, and then that cascades water all the way down the hillside. What we're defining those as are edible habitats. These edible habitats need open water. They need tree crops. They need those tree crops to be actually have support plants that are insectiary, nectary, and beneficial in every respect, and that they work really well in bringing in wildlife instead of keeping out wildlife. The birds love it here, and we can grow our apple trees on this French intensive method. We can also, at 8-foot centers, but we can also grow our corn in between these crops. Here I am standing in the middle of an edible forest garden. Edible forest gardens are also another dynamic part of the agroforestry practices we are actually utilizing here at Spiral Ridge Permaculture. Our farm, remember, it exists because of tree ecosystems, and that's what we're mimicking. In this particular system, size of a small urban yard, we have multiple different types of tree systems: fruits, nuts, berries, medicine, forage crops, fertilizer crops, insectiary crops, nectary crops, just in this little small garden. 2 ponds that actually capture water right off the gutter. Couldn't be better. Hey, here we are again. This is a small little food forest that we've created. We pulse animals in here. There's apples, honey locusts, mulberries, different types of bamboo, which is a forest grass, by the way. We love bamboo. If you want to learn more about bamboo, you could also come to our agroforestry course where we teach about bamboo agroforestry. But this area right here has 2 ponds and swales connected to a lot of the top work up top. And what we've done is we have come in here and we utilize pigs. We throw the pigs in here for a few days. You might have seen our video on YouTube. If you haven't, check it out. And what we do is we create soil with those pigs. This used to be hard rock, just like a road. So, creating soil, using pigs, forested ecosystems, come on out. Right, so here we are on one of our main terraces. It kind of bisects the actual slope, so it's a lot less steep up here and starts to get steeper down here. Down here it also is more of a Zone 3, Zone 4 agroforestry systems. These are a little more intensive. And this morning, this whole area, this terrace, which connects to the road that we were working on earlier, it connects to the road, brings water from the road down into this terrace at a very slight gradient, 1 in 300. And it goes along about 300 feet, slowly moving, walking, crawling almost, and fills up a ridge pond that's in front of our house. This area right here was actually about a foot of water this morning after the rains. That's what provoked us to actually do these videos. So that's a little taste of all the earthworks we do out here. And I can tell you this, the earthworks that we've done here on our property in this particular context are working, and they're working well. It's all about context. It's not about division. And just keep it real and come out and see us.